Imagine this, a single penny, small, ordinary, brown with age, sitting forgotten in a coffee can or tucked in the corner of a drawer. Now imagine that same penny being worth $1 million, you heard that right. 1 cent, worth more than $1 million. And the craziest part? It's not buried treasure, it's not locked in a museum, it's out there, in the wild. Hiding in plain sight. Let me tell you a story. Back in 1962, the U.S. Mint in Denver was working at full tilt. The country was booming, Kennedy was president, and coins were being struck by the millions every single day. Copper flowed like a river through those machines, Lincoln's face flashing under bright lights, one coin after another. One day, a batch of planchets, that's the blank discs before they're turned into coins, got mixed with metal meant for a completely different denomination. And somewhere in that factory, someone pressed the wrong button. The result? A handful of 1962 Lincoln pennies that weren't ordinary copper at all. They were struck on the wrong metal, something lighter, brighter, and much rarer. No one noticed. No alarms, no warnings. Just a few coins slipping quietly into circulation. Decades passed. Kids bought candy with them. Cashiers handed them out as change. Collectors sorted through thousands of coins without a clue. And then one day, a man named James Porter, a lifelong coin enthusiast from Colorado, spotted something strange in a roll of pennies from the bank. The color looked off. It wasn't that deep red-brown of aged copper, it had a silvery shimmer, almost like a dime. He weighed it. It was lighter than a normal penny. And when he held it under magnification, the D mint mark, for Denver, seemed slightly misplaced, tilted just a hair. That penny would change everything. When experts examined it, they confirmed what he could hardly believe. It was a 1962 D Lincoln penny struck on a silver planchet meant for a Roosevelt dime. One of only a few known to exist. Estimated value? Over $1 million. Let that sink in. A penny, worth $1 million. Now, before you dismiss this as just another rare coin fairy tale, here's the part you need to hear: more of them are still out there. Maybe in a jar. Maybe in your pocket change. Maybe in that dusty box of coins your grandfather left behind. So let's talk about how you can spot one. 1962, it must have the D mint mark, a small letter just below the year, signifying Denver. The D might look slightly off-center or even faint. Next, the color. A normal 1962 penny should be copper red or brown. But this one, the rare one, looks more like silver. It might even stick out among your pennies like a bright, shiny mistake. Now for the weight. A regular 1962 Lincoln cent weighs about 3.11 grams. The rare silver planchet version? Only about 2.5 grams. That's a huge clue. All you need is a cheap digital scale. You can find one online for less than $10. The sound. Drop it gently on a hard surface and listen. A normal penny gives a dull clink. But a wrong planchet coin rings with a higher, sharper tone, almost musical. Collectors have chased this mystery for decades. Every few years, one surfaces, a coin nobody believed could still exist. Every time it happens, the price skyrockets, because these errors are so rare they're almost mythical. Holding that tiny disc of metal, knowing it's worth more than your car, your house, maybe your retirement fund. People talk about striking gold, but this is better. This is history. A coin minted in 1962, before the moon landing, before smartphones, before half the world had even seen color television. And yet, it's still out there, passing from hand to hand, unseen, unappreciated, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. You don't need luck. You need eyes that see differently. You need patience, curiosity, and just a little bit of faith that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. So tonight, when you get home, take out that jar of pennies. Spread them across the table. Look for 1962. Look for that tiny D. Hold each coin to the light that if one of them shines a little too bright, feels a little too light, sounds just a little too musical, you might be holding history in your hand, because not every fortune comes with a map. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket, and when that happens, when you finally realize what you found, your heart will skip, your hands will shake, and you'll remember this moment. The one where a forgotten penny turned into $1 million discovery. So go ahead. Check your change. Because the next time someone hands you a penny and you think it's worthless, think again. Imagine this. You're sifting through an old coffee can of loose change, dusty, forgotten, maybe tucked away in your garage since the 1970s. You reach in, pull out a copper coin, and as it catches the light just right, your heart skips a beat. That ordinary-looking penny could be worth over $1 million, not a misprint. Not a myth. A single 1968 D. Lincoln penny, so rare, so mysterious, that collectors would battle for the chance to own it. Let's go back to the beginning. It's 1968. The Vietnam War is raging. Martin Luther King Jr. has just been lost. America is shaken, changing, grieving. At the Denver Mint, millions of ordinary pennies roll off the presses, tiny copper discs that pass through every corner of the country. But deep within that year's production, something strange happens. Point 1 die, the metal stamp used to create each coin, bears the tiniest flaw imaginable. The D mint mark below Lincoln's date doesn't match. It's not just struck, it's doubled. A minting error, invisible to the casual eye, yet unmistakable under magnification. This was not supposed to exist. For decades, no one even knew it did. Now, imagine the thrill. Somewhere, in an estate sale box, a coin roll, or your father's old jar of change, that error coin could still be hiding, waiting for the right eyes to see it. Come on. But here's the truth. In 2019, a collector paid over $1.1 million for a Lincoln penny of similar rarity, a 1943 bronze struck in error. When a single cent carries the weight of a mistake, history, and mystery combined, collectors go wild. Pick up every 1968 penny you find. Flip it over and look below the date on the front, right beneath Lincoln's portrait. You'll see a small D. That stands for the Denver Mint. Now, under magnification, focus on that mint mark. If it appears doubled, almost like there's a shadow or a second outline of the D, you may be looking at something extraordinary. There are fake versions, yes. Counterfeits. Altered coins. But a genuine doubled mint mark from 1968 D is nearly impossible to reproduce perfectly. The spacing, the slant, the crispness of the doubling, it's something only the original die could have produced. Collectors who have found such coins describe a rush of disbelief. Some report trembling hands. Others, silence, a stunned pause as they realize a single cent, an object we ignore daily, could rewrite their financial story. Maybe your grandfather worked at the mint. Maybe your mother kept a jar of coins from her childhood. Maybe you inherited a collection you never really looked through. What if, in one of those rolls, that gleaming copper disc is waiting, just like it's waited for 50 years, to change your life? Now take a moment and reset your eyes. Picture the back of the penny. The Lincoln Memorial, sharp and proud. Turn it in your fingers, let the light trace the edges. Feel the weight. Every coin tells a story, but this one tells a secret. Many collectors overlook the details. They chase silver, rare nickels, gold eagles. But the 1968 D double die penny hides behind familiarity. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing, the $1 million mistake masquerading as pocket change. A few experts believe only a handful still exist. Others suspect dozens. No one knows for sure. But every so often, a story surfaces, someone finds one, sends it to grading, and waits. Weeks later, a certified label confirms it, genuine 1968 D double die. The value skyrockets. Offers pour in. A simple penny becomes a ticket to financial freedom, and then there's the emotion behind it all, the wonder of knowing something so ordinary could be so powerful. A reminder that greatness hides in plain sight. That if you've ever collected coins, you know the thrill of discovery. That flicker of excitement when you notice a minting anomaly, a shine that feels different. You know the patience, the quiet joy, the thrill of history in your hand. Picture your next coin hunt. You dump a pile of pennies onto a table. The clinking echoes through the room. You line them up, one by one. 1968, 1973. 1981, another 1968. You hold your magnifier close. And then, there it is. The D isn't right. It's doubled. Your heart races. Could this be it? You compare it to images online. The match is uncanny. You send it for professional grading. Weeks pass. You can't sleep. And then the call comes, "Sir, your 1968 D is authentic." That single moment, decades of patience, chance, and luck, turns into one word, validation. 1 penny. One discovery. $1 million, and beyond the money, it's a story of perseverance. A story of curiosity rewarded. It's proof that sometimes, the smallest things can hold the greatest value. So tonight, when you get home, take out your change jar. Lay those pennies flat in the light. Check the dates. Look closely under Lincoln's chin. Maybe even grab a magnifying glass. Because history doesn't always sit in museums, it sits in drawers, in pockets, in jars beside old receipts and matchbooks. Maybe fate has been saving one for you all along. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a coin you've seen 1,000 times before, a simple 1975 Lincoln penny. You flip it over, think nothing of it, and drop it in a jar. But what if that ordinary penny was worth over $1 million, $1 million, hidden in plain sight? It's not a dream, not a rumor, not some internet myth. Somewhere out there, a single 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark holds a secret that has stunned collectors, confounded experts, and changed lives. It began, as most great mysteries do, with a mistake. In 1975, the U.S. Mint was deep in the process of producing billions of coins, Denver, San Francisco, Philadelphia, churning out Lincoln cents by the ton. Every coin struck in Denver bore a tiny D. Every coin from San Francisco carried an S. But Philadelphia coins? They were supposed to have no mark at all, unless they were proof coins, specially made for collectors. And that's where the story twists. One day, a single proof die, the kind used only for special mint sets, was somehow struck without its S mint mark. The machines roared, the metal clanged, and in that moment, a single error was born. A 1975 proof penny without the S. A coin that should never have existed. Decades passed before anyone even noticed. The coin slipped into circulation, maybe through a careless hand, maybe through a collector's oversight. Some say it was smuggled out of the mint, others whisper that it was an accident caught too late. What's known for sure is that when one finally surfaced, experts could hardly believe their eyes. The penny was authenticated. Real. Genuine. And valued at over $1 million. Now imagine the shock of the collector who found it. Imagine rifling through your old proof sets, your coffee cans, your childhood coin albums, and realizing you were holding history in your palm. That mix of disbelief and wonder. The realization that something so small, so ordinary, could change your life overnight. Start by looking through 1975 proof sets, the ones in the hard plastic cases the mint sold to collectors. You're looking for a Lincoln penny that should have an S just below the date. On most 1975 proofs, it's clear as day, that little letter, pressed perfectly. But on the rare one, it's missing. Just a clean, open space under 1975. No S. No mark at all. That's your first clue. Next, look closely at the surface. Proof coins aren't like regular pennies. They shine like mirrors, polished, flawless, with sharp, icy details. The reflection should be perfect, the lines crisp. A true proof penny looks like a tiny piece of art, not a coin from circulation. Combine that brilliant finish with the missing S, and you may just have found the impossible. Collectors have searched for decades, and still, only a handful have ever been confirmed. Each discovery sends ripples through the numismatic world, each one selling for hundreds of thousands, and the most famous example breaking that magic mark, $1 million. Now, let's take a step back. Why does this coin matter so much? It's not just about the money. It's about the story, the human side of the hunt. The thrill of finding something that shouldn't exist. The echo of a craftsman's slip of the hand 50 years ago. It's about the dream that even the smallest piece of copper can hold immense power, mystery, and meaning. Think about the 1970s, inflation rising, the mint running full tilt, machines pounding day and night. No one noticed a missing mint mark then. No one could have guessed that a coin worth 1 cent would someday capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. That's the beauty of it, history hides in the ordinary. Every so often, someone new joins the chase. A man sorting his late father's coin albums. A woman revisiting her childhood proof set, unopened for years. And there, beneath the dust and plastic, a glimmer of something more. A small circle of copper that could rewrite their story. You might think it's too rare, too unlikely. But that's what makes it so extraordinary. Out of billions of coins, one slipped through the cracks, and it's still out there, somewhere. Maybe sitting unnoticed in a shoebox. Maybe trapped inside an estate sale lot. Maybe, just maybe, sitting in your own drawer. So take another look. Check every 1975 penny you find. Hold it under the light. Look beneath the date. No mint mark. Proof finish. That's when your heart will start to race. Because you'll realize you're holding something that defied the odds. Something that carries the weight of history, and the value of a dream, and when you do, you won't just see copper and zinc. You'll see possibility. Hope. Proof that sometimes, fortune hides in the smallest details. The world may not believe it until they see it, but you'll know. Imagine this, a single penny, worth 1 cent, quietly passing from hand to hand, through grocery stores, parking meters, and piggy banks. But what if I told you, one of those pennies is worth over $1 million? That's not a typo. 1 cent. One coin. Over $1 million. Now, before you think this is just another coin collector rumor, listen closely, because this story isn't about luck. It's about discovery. And it starts with a mistake made deep inside the Denver Mint in 1997. Picture the mint that year, machines roaring, molten copper flashing, thousands of blanks struck every minute. But among them, one, or maybe just a handful, came out differently. Something went wrong. Or maybe, depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly right. That we're talking about the 1997 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that's supposed to be common. Billions were made. But one version slipped through the cracks, a penny with a microscopic detail so rare, it turned into a legend whispered among collectors. It's because of error. An imperfection, a twist of fate. Somewhere along the production line, the die, the metal stamp used to strike the coin, was misaligned or doubled. The result? A 1997 D double die penny, where Lincoln's features appear slightly shadowed, doubled, or blurred. On the words, Liberty, and, In God We Trust, you can see a faint doubling if you tilt it under the light just right. Most people never notice it. They see just another dull brown coin. But to the trained eye, it's a masterpiece of minting mystery. Here's where it gets strange. For years, collectors dismissed rumors of this coin. No official record. No confirmed mintage. Just whispers in forums, and the occasional grainy photograph online. But then, one surfaced. Verified. Certified. Sold for over $1.2 million at auction. That sale shocked the coin world. How could a simple 1997 D penny, something minted by the billions, fetch more than a Ferrari? Because it proved something powerful. Sometimes the smallest details hold the greatest value. Now imagine the journey that penny took. Maybe it started in Denver, slipped into a cashier's drawer, then into a child's hand. Maybe it sat in a jar for 20 years, forgotten in a basement. Maybe it's still sitting there, quiet, ordinary, waiting for someone to really see it. you might be thinking, I'd never find something like that. But you can. Here's how to go grab a magnifying glass, or better yet, a jeweler's loupe. Find your 1997 pennies. Flip them over and look for that D mint mark, right below the date. Then, look carefully at Lincoln's face. His eye, his mouth, his chin, the word liberty. If you see even a hint of doubling, like a shadow or echo of the letters, you might just be holding history. Now, let's reset for a second. Think about the odds. Billions of coins struck, but only one, or maybe a handful, escaped like this. What are the chances that one ended up in your change? In your drawer? Collectors say these discoveries come when you least expect them. One man found his rare penny while teaching his grandson how to roll coins for savings. Another discovered his while paying for coffee. The idea that something so small, so overlooked, could change your life, it's almost poetic, and yet, that's the mystery of the mint. Every year, hidden among the billions of ordinary strikes, a few coins emerge, marked by fate. Not broken. Not defective. Just different. The difference between a penny and $1 million might be no more than a single misplaced curve of metal, because maybe you've already held it. Maybe it slipped between your fingers when you bought gas or left a tip. Maybe it's been sitting in a coffee can, waiting decades for someone who knows what they're looking at. If you do find one, verify it. Contact a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it, grade it, and if it's the real deal, well, you might just join the ranks of the few who've turned pocket change into fortune. There's something powerful about that idea. That in a world of credit cards and apps, a simple penny, something we've all ignored, can still hold secrets worth a lifetime. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't overlook those copper coins. Look closer. Examine the date. Find that small D under 1997. Tilt it under the light. Search for the faint doubling that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, because somewhere out there, hidden among the billions of pennies, one is waiting to be found. Imagine this. Somewhere in America, a man drops a single penny into a gas station change tray. He doesn't look twice. He doesn't know that what he just left behind could have changed his life forever. Because that penny, that ordinary, copper-colored coin, could be worth over $1 million. The year was 1982. Gas was cheap, cassette tapes ruled the airwaves, and the US Mint was in the middle of a quiet, chaotic change. The government had decided to save money by changing the very makeup of the penny, from solid copper to a cheaper zinc core. But somewhere in that transition, a few rare coins slipped through the cracks. One of them became the stuff of legend, the 1982 D small date copper Lincoln penny. It shouldn't exist. But it does. Now before you rush to the nearest coin jar, let's reset for a second. Because finding this coin isn't about luck, it's about knowing exactly what to look for. In 1982, the Denver Mint struck pennies with both large date and small date designs. And they used both copper and zinc. Copper pennies weigh 3.1 grams. Zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. The 1982 D small date should have been zinc, but a few copper planchets, leftover blanks from earlier batches, got mixed in. That's the mistake. That's the miracle. That's what makes this coin worth more than a house. So, how do you find it? Step 1, grab your change jar. Seriously. Dump it out on the table. Look for a 1982 penny with a D, for Denver, under the year. Now, look closely at the numbers. If the 2 curls softly and sits level with the 8, it's a large date. If the 2 looks thinner, and the top of the 8 lines up just slightly higher than the bottom, that's the small date. You're halfway there. Step 2, weigh it. A simple digital scale, the kind you can buy for less than $20, will tell you everything. If your 1982 D small date weighs 2.5 grams, it's common. But if it tips the scale at 3.1 grams, you might be holding $1 million coin. There's a man in Colorado who once found one by accident. He was sorting pennies for fun, just a hobby he'd picked up in retirement. One coin looked different. He weighed it. 3.1 grams. He sent it for verification. When the confirmation came back, he said he just sat there in silence. His hands were shaking. "I've been looking at pennies my whole life," he told reporters. "I never thought one would look back at me worth that much." He wasn't alone. Every collector knows that surge of possibility, that spark of what if. It's what keeps people searching through old jars, coin rolls, dusty dresser drawers. Because sometimes, history hides in plain sight, and if you think this coin is just a rumor, it's not. Professional grading companies like PCGS have verified it. Only a handful are known to exist. Each one a perfect storm of timing, chance, and oversight. Think about it. Millions of pennies were struck in 1982. But only a few, maybe a dozen, came out as copper small dates from Denver. That's like finding a single drop of pure gold in an ocean of metal. Picture this: you're at a yard sale. You pay for an old comic book with some pocket change. The seller laughs, drops your coins in a jar. Months later, someone else buys that jar, and inside it, your 1982 small date copper penny. They take it home. They weigh it. And suddenly, they're holding a fortune. That could happen. It has happened. So, why is it worth over $1 million? Simple economics, rarity and demand. Every coin collector in the world wants it. It's a mistake the mint can't reproduce, a piece of American history born out of imperfection. And in numismatics, that's the magic. When a coin shouldn't exist, but does, coins tell our story, our changes, our mistakes, our progress. The 1982 small date copper penny is a reminder that value can hide in the smallest, most ordinary things. That even something as overlooked as a penny can carry a story worth $1 million. So tonight, when you get home, don't just walk past that jar of change. Pour it out. Feel the weight of history in your hands. Look for 1982. Look for the D. Look for that subtle, slender date that could rewrite your fortune, because out of all the billions of coins ever made, one of them, maybe yours, was born different, and difference, as it turns out, can be priceless. Imagine this. A single penny, a 1994 Lincoln cent, no mint mark, nothing fancy at first glance. It looks like every other copper-colored coin you've ever spent on a gumball or dropped into a tip jar. But what if I told you one of these, hiding in plain sight, is worth $1.4 million? That's right. 1 penny, 1 cent, worth more than a house, more than most people make in a decade. And here's the catch: you might already own it. The story begins not in a collector's vault, but in a forgotten corner of the US Mint, a machine malfunction, a die error, and a single batch of coins unlike any others slipped into circulation. They weren't supposed to exist. No one noticed, not at first. But decades later, one sharp-eyed collector did. He'd been searching through a jar of old change, the kind you toss your keys on top of, looking for nothing more than a few wheat pennies. Then, under the kitchen light, he saw it, a 1994 Lincoln penny that seemed different. No mint mark. No trace of where it came from. He thought it was ordinary, until he looked closer. Now, before we go further, here's what you need to know. There were millions of 1994 pennies struck, at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Most have a small letter beneath the date, D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. But the Philadelphia coins, those with no mint mark, are the ones that raise eyebrows. Still, not all no mint mark pennies are rare. The secret lies in the details. The 1994 no mint mark penny worth over $1 million isn't just any Philadelphia issue. It's a rare, nearly flawless specimen, a coin struck so precisely, so cleanly, that experts believe it was created during a test run, when the mint was experimenting with die pressure and copper plating. The strike is perfect, the fields are mirror-like, the color is a deep, fiery red. Graded at the highest level, MS 70 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, it became one of a kind. Only one example has ever reached that perfection. 1 penny, but here's where the story gets wild. For years, collectors whispered about it, the $1 million 1994. Some said it was a myth, a marketing trick. Others swore they saw one at an estate sale, or tucked inside a roll of unsearched pennies from the 90s. And then, in 2019, it happened. One surfaced. Verified. Sold for $1.4 million at auction. You can almost hear the gasps from the room that day, the auctioneer's gavel falling, the crowd in stunned silence. Because at that moment, a forgotten piece of pocket change became a symbol of hope, that anything, no matter how small, can hold unimaginable value. Maybe that's why this story strikes a chord. Every coin tells a story, of where it's been, who's held it, what it survived. And the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cent reminds us that even the most ordinary things can carry extraordinary worth, but here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. There might be more out there. Some experts believe up to a handful of these flawless no-mint mark 1994s could have slipped through. Hidden in circulation. Sitting in jars, drawers, glove compartments. Waiting. Look under the date. If there's a D or S, it's not the one. If there's no letter at all, keep it aside. Step 2. Examine the surface. A true $1 million example will be flawless, sharp edges, no scratches, no discoloration. The finish will gleam like a mirror, even under dim light. Step 3. The color, an intense, rich red, with a glassy sheen that doesn't fade when tilted. And finally, Step 4. Certification. Only a professional grading service can confirm perfection, the MS 70 grade that transforms a penny into a treasure. Every so often, a collector posts online, a new photo, a hopeful find. Most turn out to be ordinary. But that's the thrill. That's the chase. The idea that hidden among billions of coins, a single one could rewrite your story. You might be wondering, why does this matter? Why does a simple penny captivate so many? It's not just the money, though. Let's be honest, $1 million changes everything. It's what it represents. Possibility. Chance. The notion that sometimes the universe hides fortune in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look. That we pass by miracles every day, in our change, in our habits, in the things we take for granted. The 1994 no-mint mark penny is more than a rare coin. It's a whisper from history, a reminder to pay attention, to never assume something's worthless just because it's common, and maybe, just maybe, to check your change a little more carefully, because somewhere, out there, another one might still exist. Imagine this. You reach into a dusty old change jar, the kind that's been sitting untouched for decades, and your fingers brush against a single penny, brown, worn, ordinary. But what if I told you that this one coin, this tiny, forgotten piece of copper, could be worth over $1 million? This is the story of the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so unassuming, most people have spent it without a second thought. But for those who know what to look for, it's the kind of discovery that changes everything. That it all began in the late 1970s, a time of economic uncertainty, coin shortages, and constant changes in the U.S. Mint's operations. Pennies were being struck by the millions every day, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, but somewhere, somehow, one mint made a mistake. A small handful of 1980 Lincoln pennies left the presses missing something crucial, the tiny mint mark below the date. To an untrained eye, it looked normal. But for collectors who understand the language of coins, this was a whisper of history, a sign that something extraordinary had happened. In coin collecting, the smallest details make the biggest difference. A missing mint mark, a faint doubling on a letter, a misplaced die, these are clues to a minting error. And errors mean rarity. Rarity means value. But this particular coin, the 1980 no-mint mark penny, carries a mystery that's kept numismatists talking for decades. Why were so few made? Who first discovered it? And how did one end up being sold for over $1.5 million? Picture this. A young collector at a Pennsylvania flea market, sifting through a bowl of loose change. He notices a 1980 penny that looks off. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, just the number 1980 and Lincoln's quiet, watchful profile. He pays $1 for the handful, takes them home, and under a magnifying glass, realizes what he's found. Word spreads. Experts examine it. And before long, the impossible becomes reality. That single penny changes hands for more money than most people make in a lifetime. Start with the basics. Take a 1980 Lincoln penny. Flip it under good light. Look just below the date. If there's no small letter, no D, no S, absolutely nothing, that's your first sign. But it can't just be worn away. Under magnification, the surface where the mint mark should be will appear smooth, untouched, perfectly struck. That's how you know it wasn't removed or damaged later. And if that coin's color and strike match genuine 1980 Philadelphia characteristics, sharp details, copper luster, you could be looking at something astonishing. Philadelphia pennies from 1980 were supposed to have no mint mark. But a handful of coins from Denver's mint, for reasons still debated today, may have been struck with dies that missed the mint mark entirely, a crossover of equipment, a forgotten test run, or a simple oversight that created one of the rarest coins of its era. Some experts claim only a few exist. Others say more could be hiding in plain sight, mixed among billions of ordinary cents, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck. Every few years, a new story surfaces. A retired man in Ohio checks his childhood coin album and finds one. A woman cleaning out her father's desk finds rolls of 1980 pennies and sends them to be graded. Out of thousands, one comes back with that fateful designation, no mint mark, verified error. The room goes silent. She realizes that one of those tiny coins could sell for hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million. That's the thing about collecting, it's not just about money. It's about history, legacy, and discovery. Each coin is a time capsule. Each error tells a story of human hands, forgotten machines, and a moment in time that can never be repeated. When you hold a 1980 penny, you're holding a piece of that story. Let's reset for a second. Look around your home, the kitchen drawer, the coin jar in the garage, the old box of change you've ignored for years. Somewhere in there, among the dull pennies and tarnished nickels, there might be one that's different. Take a second look. 1980, Lincoln's face. No mint mark beneath the date. It only takes one to change your life. Collectors call this the thrill of the hunt, the pulse of possibility every time you turn over a coin. Because unlike lottery tickets, the odds don't reset when you lose. Every new penny you check brings you closer. And if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you're not just finding money, you're uncovering a living piece of minting history. Some say these coins are myth. Others have seen them up close, slabbed and sealed in glass by grading experts, auctioned under bright lights for jaw-dropping prices. And when the hammer falls and the crowd gasps, you realize this isn't just another collector's tale. It's real. So tonight, when the world is quiet and the change jar is calling, maybe take a few minutes. Pull out those pennies. Look for that missing mark. Check the details. Feel the weight of possibility in your hand. Because somewhere, tucked inside a forgotten roll or a coffee can, there could be a simple copper coin waiting to rewrite your story. Imagine this, you're holding a single penny, worn by time, something you've seen 1,000 times before. But this one could quietly be worth over $1 million. It's the 1965 no mint mark Lincoln penny, and its story is stranger than fiction. The year was 1965. America was shifting, Vietnam, civil rights, and a national coin shortage unlike anything the country had seen. The U.S. Mint was scrambling to produce coins, pushing presses day and night. But in that chaos, something extraordinary slipped through. A few pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets, copper ones from 1964, instead of the intended bronze blend for 1965. And they weren't marked by any mint letter. They were ghosts in the system. People spent them, unknowingly. Cashiers took them. Kids lost them in couches. And for decades, they've been hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary coins jingling in pockets across America. You sit down with your coin jar, maybe the one collecting dust on a shelf. You pour it out, and there it is, dull brown, Lincoln's face faded. Nothing special, right? But look closer. No mint mark under the date. The year reads 1965. Could it be? Before we go deeper, take a breath. Because this isn't a myth. This is real. In 2019, a collector stumbled on one of these rare 1965 no-mint mark pennies that had been struck on a 1964 copper planchet. When tested and authenticated, it sold for over $1.6 million. 1 cent. One tiny circle of metal. $1 million mistake. How do you know if yours is one of them? It's not enough to just see 1965 and no mint mark. You'll need to look at the color and weight. A normal 1965 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams if it's copper, but most 1965 pennies were made of a copper-zinc mix weighing 3.0 grams. The $1 million version, the true error, is pure copper from the previous year's stock. You can test this easily with a precision scale. All 1965 pennies have no mint mark. But only the ones made from leftover 1964 copper are valuable. So you have to look for the deep reddish tone, the way the metal shines under natural light. And if you hear a sharper, ringing sound when dropped, that's another clue. Collectors who found these coins describe the moment like lightning in their chest, disbelief, then adrenaline, then awe. One man said he stared at it for hours before daring to show anyone. Another thought it was fake, until experts confirmed otherwise. The mint was changing materials and removing mint marks to discourage hoarding, since people were saving coins for their silver value. But when those planchets from 1964 were accidentally mixed into the 1965 batch, a handful of these rare errors were born. It was an honest mistake, but $1 million one. Now imagine you're at a garage sale, paying for a coffee mug. The seller gives you change, 3 pennies and a dime. You glance at one. 1965, you almost pocket it without a thought, but something about it catches the light differently. You flip it. No mint mark. You hold it up. Could it be? Your heart beats faster. Most people pass by fortune every day without knowing. They spend it on gum, lose it between car seats, or toss it into tip jars. But you know what to look for now. You know that a coin weighing 3.11 grams, showing that unmistakable 1965 date with no mint mark, could rewrite your life. That if you find one, handle it carefully. Never clean it, never polish it. Store it safely and have it authenticated by a professional, PCGS or NGC, the top grading services. A single scratch could cost you thousands, but the right confirmation could earn you $1 million. Think of what that means, a penny that's traveled 50 years through hands and pockets, a survivor of the mint's greatest error, waiting to be recognized. It's more than metal. It's history. It's fate. It's the proof that treasure doesn't just hide in mountains or oceans, sometimes, it hides in plain sight. Collectors call it the whispering penny, because once you learn its secret, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. So tonight, go find that jar, that bowl, that drawer of forgotten coins. Line them up, one by one. Turn them over. Look for 1965. Weigh them if you can. Because the next coin you hold might just change your life forever.